The problem with the left, or the biggest problem with the left, is that they focus on cultural issues almost more than class issues itself. No, they absolutely do. Not even almost. They absolutely do. And this is perfect for the Democrats because Nancy Pelosi and even like AOC and the left wing of the Democratic Party are controlled by corporate America. They're controlled by their donors. They're controlled by other forces who represent the Democratic Party establishment, the elites. So what do you do in order to distinguish yourself from the Republicans, in order to make yourself seem different from the Republicans, if you're not in terms of issues of economics and imperialism, the issues that actually matter, foreign policy and domestic economic issues that affect people's real day-to-day lives? On those issues, the Democrats are essentially the same as the Republicans. So how do they distinguish themselves? Cultural issues and social issues. The the Republicans think this about bathrooms, so we think that about bathrooms. And we're going to talk about bathrooms all day long to show how much different we are than the Republicans, and to virtue signal, and to, morally grandstand and pretend that we're morally superior to them. These cultural and identity politics issues are a perfect avenue for people who want to pretend like they're different from the Republicans, who want to pretend like they're, left-wing and progressive and fighting to move society forward, when they're actually beholden to the same corporations that the Republican Party is. So that's the strategy of the Democrats. It's a perfect strategy for them, especially when all the George Floyd stuff was going on. That's when I feel like this strategy was really, came to be the hegemony. The dominant ideology in the country became, progressive, quote unquote progressive on cultural issues. Even though I would disagree with the idea that democratic and liberal cultural values are actually progressive. But then, of course, remaining right-wing on economic and foreign policy issues. This only serves to divide workers. Absolutely. That's the other utility of that strategy, is it keeps people divided and at each other's throats over these cultural issues, when in reality, we agree on all of the economic issues. Pretty much everybody in the country agrees that we should end the wars and reinvest the money that we're spending on endless wars in the American people. I know pretty much everyone I wrestle with thinks that, whether they consider themselves a Democrat or a Republican or whatever. But they're able to keep people divided with the bathrooms and with other cultural and social issues. We would mostly agree with class issues, not cultural. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Brent. Eddie, what do you think about UBI? Good question. I mean, listen, if they enacted UBI tomorrow, I would take that and I would love it. I'd be like, thank you for that. I'm going to use this to pay off my college, student loans and pay for my rent and things like that. But I think it would be ultimately offset by inflation. And it would be maybe a small form of wealth redistribution. But ultimately, the only purpose that would serve is to maintain capitalism. The inventor of UBI was actually Milton Friedman, who's like one of the main capitalist economists of our era, one of the, most dogmatically pro-capitalist economists, more like a dogmatist, more like a preacher of capitalist religion. But basically, he came up with the idea of the negative income tax, where you take some money from the top and redistribute it to the bottom, so the people at the bottom don't get so angry and downtrodden that they overthrow the entire system. It's a way to maintain capitalism and keep it going, which is, I think, what Andrew Yang wanted to do as well. And I mean, it would serve that purpose, but ultimately, if people have $2,000 extra a month, what is your landlord going to do? Your landlord's going to jack up the price of your rent because he knows that you have more money. The grocery stores are going to do that as well. All of the sellers of essential products, what in Marxism we call the means of subsistence, the things that people need to reproduce themselves and continue to live, to survive, The prices of all of those things would inflate because they would know that people have more money to spend on them. So ultimately, it would be, you know, a very tiny band-aid on the gaping wounds of our system, which needs to be radically transformed. And that radical transformation goes much farther than UBI. We need land redistribution, the nationalization, excuse me, of major corporations, a massive crackdown on Wall Street, the nationalization of the big banks. You know, all of these things need to be enacted. And, you know, maybe we could do UBI as a form of wealth redistribution under socialism when we can also put rent controls on the landlords and say, guess what? You're not allowed to increase the rent, even though people have more money. So under socialism, it could be a good policy, but under capitalism, it's pretty moot because the capitalists can just increase the prices of everything. But I'd take that $2,000 and use it. If they enact UBI, I won't be complaining too much. Did you